On now. Cool. So we're going to talk about Hmelt and Hbright. Obviously, most of us know each other now, so we won't go around the room and do our intros. But what we're going to do is talk about how it's used and how it delivers its strength and shine and a color treatment all in one. So we'll cover like what is Hbright, using it in the salon as a treatment, our mixing applications and processing and all the different ways we can do that, and then adding Hmelt to Hbright to actually make a color enhancing treatment in salon, which is really cool that we've got these options that we can, build our menu with that as well. So what is Hbright? Does anyone know, or does anyone use Hbright, or anyone know really what it is? No? So I can show you a bottle, okay? So it pretty much falls back in the H system range with its labeling. Has anybody used it before? No?
No.
Eve?
No, I have never used it.
No? Okay. So with that, I'm expecting everyone hasn't used it, which is good. So this will be really good for you. So you'll learn quite a bit about it. Basically what it is, it's a fluid enhancer, for light enhancer, sorry, for natural and colored hair. So what that means is you can put it on natural hair, or you can put it on hair that's been colored, and it's a liquid inside the bottle. Okay, so it's like a gel liquid. It's like a jelly liquid. So you can, when you shake it, it's really hard for you guys to see that little bit there, but you can see it move, but it moves like a half set jelly would in the fridge. Okay, so it's got a little bit of thickness to it. It's not like a runny water in consistency. So what I'll do then, I'll let you know how to use it, because obviously we've never used it before. So one of the main key things it does, it restores light and lifeless faded dull hair. It enhances the intensity of natural hair and colored hair, revives the brilliance of already pre-colored hair, and enhances shine on both natural and colored hair. So basically it sums it up that it's a shine treatment. You can use it on natural and colored hair, and it will actually, sorry, I'm just gonna let Caleb in, enhance and brighten your tones when you're using it as well. Hi, Caleb. He's just connecting to audio. Might be safe. You on, Caleb? We've got you joined in. Yep, okay. So it's quite a universal product to use in the salon. So what we'll do is we'll go through each one of these specifications of what Hbright can do and break each one down so you know how to get the results. Before we do that, I just want to go through and list where Hbright sits in the system, and we'll go through some of its key ingredients as well. So you can actually see from the bottle that it has a pink label. Okay, so what that means, when anything that comes through Oway with a pink label, means it's actually part of our H system range. So it's a professional product only, it's non-retailable, and it's used back bar with what we do. The only other product that comes in a pink label that is retailable is our H Blonde shampoo, okay, because it's basically a technical product because it has a color pigment in it. It's super easy to use, the Hbright. It doesn't actually change the way that we would normally mix our colors. It's just added onto the color mix with the developer, and I'll go through those mixing ratios. So it's not a confusing product to add on. And as a treatment product, that one bottle is it, okay? So you don't need to buy other things or get other things in the salon to use it. You would just get the bottle of Hbright on its own. And it can be used alone or in combination with H Color, H Nectar, or Hmelt drops. So it's really universal that way. So as a tool, it's really, really good. It can offer, for a salon, it can offer a wider range of treatments that you can do, especially with your services in your salon, like with color balancing and things like that. So like all the H system products, it is designed to protect the hair during the processing and the scalp. So, which was what H system can do, and Hbright's no different. It actually falls beautifully in line with all our other products, and also strengthens the hair fiber as well as its processing. And the reason for this is it has very similar key active ingredients in it, like the H system products do. So it's got your biodynamic hibiscus, it's got your cotton proteins, which we've talked about, also our date oil. But one of the biggest ones is the Borrelia oil. And we know that when we talked about that before, that has our flavonoids in it when we talked about that in yesterday's Zoom. And a flavonoid is one of the, is a really high antioxidant. So as well as being gentle on the scalp, you're treating the hair at the same time as giving a shine treatment. So it's a really beautiful product to have to do for scalp and hair as well. What I'll do is we'll go into, does that make sense to everybody? No? It's pretty easy to use, yeah? Okay, so I'll go into one way of doing it as a treatment. So when you're using Hbright as a standalone treatment, you can mix it with 20 and 30 volt. Okay, so what it's designed to do when you mix it with a higher vol like 20 and 30 volt, it is going to break the base a little bit if it goes on natural hair. Okay, so just be aware that when you're lightening and brightening someone's hair as a treatment, you are lifting the cuticle, lifting the color up a little bit of their natural hair. So you're opening the cuticle a little bit. That's your 20 and 30 volt strength that's doing that. At the end, I'm going to talk to you of ways that we can use it at the base and without it actually lifting the natural hair, which is really cool. And that's what I do mostly. But if someone comes into the salon and they've got like a level 6 and their hair is quite naturally quite flat and dull, and we want to do a lightening and brightening treatment, you can very successfully use it with 20 volume, and it will probably give you a quarter of a shade lift on that natural hair. And by doing that, it's exposing a slighter, warmer pigment, which then actually makes the hair look, lighter and brighter and warmer as well. It's not going to give you a massive base break. So don't think you're going to get like 2 or 3 levels of lift out of the product. It's not designed to do that. In this way of using it, it's only designed to just lightly cut into the cuticle and give you a like minimal lift to increase that brightness. The rest of the ingredients in the product is going to strengthen the hair and give loads of shine as well. The hair feels amazing after this has been done to it. When you are mixing the ratio on a standalone treatment like this, it's always equal parts, okay? So on average, so say if you were doing a 40 gram mix of the Hbright, you would put in 40 grams of your 20 volume to do that. When it's applied on natural hair, you would take it, you'll put it on unwashed hair and you go straight through from roots to ends with a processing time of about 30 minutes. It's really easy to use. It's a little bit like, has anyone used H nectar? The consistency of H nectar when you put it on, it's like a slippery gel, but it's not drippy. It's the same sort of consistency of that. So a little bit goes a long way. So you don't have to like plaster heaps of it on. You can apply it to the hair and with your thumb and finger, work the gel into the hair and kind of slip it through. You can even comb it through if you want with like a medium tooth comb, just to make sure it's distributed evenly. It's really, really, really easy to put on. The good thing about, or one thing to remember, if someone is coming in and they're having this done as a standalone treatment, not mixed in with, not in conjunction, sorry, with a color that they're having, it's really important that the Hbright only goes on the colored hair if they've got already previous colored hair, not the regrowth. Because you can imagine if you put Hbright on the regrowth and it's going to give you a quarter of a shade lift, like it would if you were doing natural hair all the way through, and then you're putting it on hair that's got natural regrowth and previous colored hair, you're going to get a different level of brightness on that hair. So if I came to you as a new client and said to you, my hair's dull, have you got anything to give me a treatment today? You can think, wow, you're a really beautiful level 6 copper. We can brighten that copper. I can give you a Hbright treatment. When you're applying it to that client, you would only really put it on her colored hair, not her natural regrowth hair. Does that make sense? Just so that you're going to get an even color result. There is one way around that, which we'll talk about at the end. When you want to really, if her hair was dull and flat and you wanted to lift that 6 up a little bit and brighten it, you wouldn't put it on the natural hair. You'd only put it on the regrowth. Even though it's a gel color, it's not runny. A gel treatment, sorry, it's not runny, so it won't drip back onto the regrowth. So you're fine with that application as well. And that is a processing of 30 minutes too. Removals, simple, you remove it the same way as any color. Emulsify with warm water and then shampoo with H-Balance shampoo and H-Balance mask at the end. Does that make sense? Is that clear? especially with the whole coloured hair and natural hair. So if they've got natural hair, straight through, easy peasy. If they've got a regrowth and previously coloured hair, it only goes onto the coloured hair for a standalone treatment. Any questions? No? Cool. The next way you can use Hbright is you can actually mix it in with your colour services. So it can be used like we talked about before with H-Colour, H-Nectar, and Hbright, H-Melt, sorry. So how you would mix this, once again, if the client's having a regrowth colour, you would mix your regrowth colour up as normal. So say they were having 6.3 and 20 volt on the roots, that's what you would do as normal. You wouldn't add any Hbright into the mix at all. But say if they were then having some colour through the ends and the ends were a bit flat, you have two options what you could do. If the ends of the client's hair, you know how sometimes we get clients come in and they actually don't mind what the colours come down to. They actually quite like where it is. You just want to brighten it. You just want to add a little bit of shine and intensity to it. And then you go back to your colour wall and you think, right, well, she's a beautiful natural. It's come up a nice 6.3. It's faded off a little bit. Do I put 8.3 on it? Because all I want to do is shine. I don't want to add any depth. Or do I do a 10.3? Do I make a shine gloss? This is where Hbright is perfect because you can just go in with H-tone or 20 vol and colour balance those ends with just this treatment. And what you're going to get is a little bit of lift, but loads of shine. So it saves you from having to use your colour pigment, which is really not needed in this case. So it's for hair that looks a little bit flat and tired. Basically, when you're color balancing, it's a really awesome tool to use. So you would do your regrowth as normal, and then you would put that in. The other thing you could do, if say, for example, they were a beautiful copper color and you're going to color balance the ends with say 743, and you just want a real kick or a little bit more boost in the color, you then can add the Hbright directly to your mix as well. So for every, say if you were doing 40 grams of your 743 to the ends, once again, the regrowth will be done with no Hbright. That's just a standard color. So you do that as normal. And the ends, you're going to mix up, say 743, and you're going to color balance with that. You would do 40 grams of 743, and then you would use 10 grams of your Hbright. So that's going to give you 50 grams of color or 50 grams of product. And then you would then use 75 mils or 75 grams of your chosen developer. So you add the Hbright on top of the color, add that total, and then you do your developer mix to that. So if it was 30 grams of color and 10 grams of Hbright, that's 40 grams in total. You would then add 60 grams of developer. What the Hbright will do, mixed in with that 743, is just give you a little bit of lift and a little bit of kick to the color as well. So it brightens it even more. So it gives you a little bit more intensity, but it's super, super shiny, really, really shiny. Those mixing ratios were with H-Color, and you would actually do the same sort of formula when you're using H-Nectar. So you would add it to the H-Nectar. Obviously, H-Nectar is a mixing ratio of 1:1. So you would do your regrowth formula first, you would then come back, you would add it to the H-Nectar, then put your appropriate grams of developer and then run it through. So it's a brightening shine treatment within a color or on its own. The other way you can use it with Hmelt, which is really cool, is say, for example, you might have someone that has a regrowth tint and they've got the tint already going through their hair with some previous foils, and you want to just brighten the foils up. You have an option to use H-Color if you like, or H-Nectar, or you can use Hbright because you want to make it really shiny and you just want to lift those ends up because they're a little bit flat. So you could go in with your 9 vol or your 20 vol and drop your Melt drops in with that as well. So you would do equal parts with your Hbright mixed in with your developer. And say, for example, you wanted to do a gold over the foils, you would reach for your Divine Gold and put, for every 40 grams, I tend to put 1 full glass dropper of my Hmelt drops in, mix that together, and you color balance with that. So you've got no actual hair color pigment, you just got your phyto pigments from your Hmelt drops mixed in with your Hbright and the developer that you choose, depending on how, do you want to lift it, do you just want to deposit it, and process that for the remaining 20 to 30 minutes. It's amazing. The hair feels like silk afterwards. It's really, really beautiful. So as a product, it's really, really, really quite universal how we can use it in the salon. How I really like it and what I tend to do with it is as a standalone treatment. I mean, we've got a lot of treatments, say, we've got all our masks at the basin that we can turn into treatments. We can add the hypercolor drops in those to make a 10-minute processing under a warm towel, a 20-minute development time, which is really, really good. We also have our rebuilding treatments, but as far as applying structural hair treatments, we can do our Hmelt with our drops as well. But this is a beautiful standalone shine treatment. So if a client's coming to you and wants a shine treatment, before we talked about not applying it to the regrowth area because the developer is going to give us some lift, and we don't want to do that on the natural hair when we're just after a shine treatment, when we've got pre-existing color. What you can do is you can simply dilute your developer. So you can make a 3-vol developer like we do when we tone. So making the 3-vol developer, as we all know, is 2 parts Hmelt to 1 part H-tone, gives us our 3-vol. So if you mix Hbright with 3-vol, you can then apply it straight over the regrowth area and the ends as well. So it's really, really good to use then as a general roots to ends shine treatment when mixed with 3-vol. It's amazing. So you'll get absolutely no lift from that natural hair whatsoever and no root glow from that. That on its own is a really, really, really beautiful shine treatment. And it's really good to be able to add that to a service menu. And one extra is you can bump it up and offer a color enhancing shine treatment. So you have someone booked in for a blow dry, say, or they might actually want a hair treatment or a color shine treatment. You then have the option to upsell to them and then add some of the Hmelt drops to it. So when it's mixed with your Hmelt, because you're making a 3-vol, obviously Hmelt is thicker than our developer as well. And when we've all mixed our toners with our 3-vol, it's like a real kind of rich, creamy sort of consistency. You'll get a very similar result with the Hbright product. And it also then you can use it quite visually because Hmelt's white, it tends to whiten the mix. So when you're putting your Hmelt drops in it, once again, creativity wise, it's a very visual product to use. So when you're making a color, you can make a beautiful pastel pink if you want. You can make a pastel violet, a light mint green, or you can do a bright red. Just purely depends on how much Hmelt drops that you put in it. When you are retailing that, it is definitely a treatment that is slowly going to release out of the hair, especially with the color. Hmelt is not a developing pigment. It's a processed, well, it's a natural phytopigment, but it doesn't actually develop in the hair. It's already the color it is. So the longevity is not like a normal color. It's more like a color shampoo, basically, or a color conditioner. So when you're doing these standalone treatments, it's a beautiful way to be a little bit creative, but the shine you get. So I did one the other day on a girl that works in an Oway salon. I used her as my model. And we did a 40-gram mix of Hbright to 40 grams of 3-vol. And I did 1 full glass dropper of the Divine Gold, because she already had some blonde highlights, but she liked a warmer result. And I applied that from roots to ends, clipped it up, processed it for 25 minutes. Stunning. Like her hair, you know, when you see those ads on TV and the girls turn around and all the hair kind of like flows and it's like a sheet of glass. It was like that. It was absolutely amazing. So the reconstructive ability with Hbright's beautiful. So to add this in your salon menu as a treatment is really, really, really good. And then to be able to use it with Hmelt and 3-vol as a standalone, but all the other ways you can use it. It's a product that's not utilized very much in the salons. And like having spoken to you guys today and asking you, do you know it? Do you use it? And everyone's kind of like, not really. It is a really beautiful product to get in. So from a salon's point of view, if it's something that you want to offer, or you've got clients that you know would benefit from a reconstructive shine treatment, it's absolutely amazing. I normally use it with 3-vol, okay, when I'm doing a roots to ends application, because I'm going over natural hair as well as colored hair. So it's a lot of the times you can use it at the basin as a toner as well. So you're actually giving them a shine treatment and a toner together. So you can mix a little bit in with your toning. Your toners, you might be doing 1117, put, 5 to 10 mils of Hbright in with that, with your 3-vol. straight through. So you're getting tone, shine, condition, and protection all in one. It's really good. I will say to you though, it works out about $6 per application on a 40 gram mix. Okay, so this is less creative and more of a business chat. So just bear in mind that when you're using it, it's costing you around $6 to $7, depending on how much you use. So bear in mind, you'll need to work that in the price when you are using it. So a standalone shine strengthening treatment in salon, you should charge minimum $30 to $45 anyway. When you're adding it to your toners at the basin, obviously that's going to be completely up to you. They're more of an express service. Whether you have them built into your color service or not, or a toner sometimes is an add-on. I would add on a little bit more when you're doing the Hbright, because you are giving them the reconstructive ability and lots of shine as well. So it's really beautiful. Does anyone have any questions regarding Hbright or how they could use it in the salon? I know today wasn't going to be very long because it's not a very long topic to talk about, but it is a really awesome product to use. Or if they want me to send them some more information on it, as far as the brochures to have a look at too. No questions?
I do.
Yeah, go for it. Fire away. Ask as many as you want. That's what I'm here for.
I won't be like yesterday.
That's right.
So I think this was also labelled as the comparison between Olaplex and Hmelt. Was that also a topic as well? Or did I miss that one?
No, this one's Hmelt and Hbright. You've got that one in your folder that I've sent you though.
Oh, okay, that's last week. Okay,
yeah,
no worries.
that was a little while ago. It was last week's. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
No, so nothing on Hbright.
I've got a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you always have to add a developer with the Hbright, or can it be by itself?
Look, I will be honest with you. I've wiped it on hair without developer and left it on for like, 5-10 minutes and felt it. Like being a glossy, silky product, it did feel nice on the hair. I honestly think though, it needs a little bit of activation for the ingredients to get into the cuticle. So I think mixing it with, the comparison of mixing it with a higher developer is actually going to give you a little bit of lift and a little bit of cutting into that natural pigment, which is what gives you that illusion of lift and brightness in the hair as well. And the product itself delivers a strength and shine. Which is why I dropped it to 3 vol when I was doing it for deposit only and tested it to see whether it actually did lift, and I got no lift. So I honestly think to make sure that the ingredients is deposited just into the cuticle for longevity, it probably does need that little bit of oxygen in it just to develop it, to swell it. Yeah. Okay, but it did feel nice when I used it on its own though, but I don't know whether you'd get super longevity out of it. That's the only thing.
Okay, so when you do the treatment at the basin with the Hmelt and Hbright, you just do like with a 9 vol, like equal parts, or?
No, I did it with 3 vol.
Oh, okay. So
yeah. So when you're doing this treatment, what I want you to remember is, or the easy way to remember it is, do I want root bump or like a toner would do? So you're choosing your developers accordingly. In the Oway brochure, they don't mention to use it with 3 vol. They only start from 9 H-tone, 20 and 30 vol, because that's what's giving you that little bit of lift. So when you're taking it through someone's mid-lengths to ends that the copper might have flattened off and you want to revitalize it, you want to lift it up a little bit, that's where your 20 vol or your 9 tone would come in it. When you're putting it over someone's hair at the basin and they've got foils, I wouldn't use anything higher than a 3 vol, because you will create a little bit of activity in that natural hair and you might get a little bit of warmth come through, and you don't want to do that. So that's when you would just use 3 vol. So I did it with 3 vol. That's why it was and it was mixed in with, so you had your 9 vol and your Hmelt mixed together to get the 3 vol. and then the Hbright itself, equal parts. Then I added the drops, the Hmelt drops in it for my color tone. If you were doing it at the basin with a toner, you wouldn't necessarily need to use your Hmelt drops. You might be doing 10.1 or 0.0 and 11.17, and then you would add the 10 grams of Hbright on top of your toner, then put the appropriate amount of 3-volt, and then take it through the client's hair as well. So you're going to add more strength to the hair, and it's super, super shiny. Like, it's beautiful. You notice the difference. It's really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
That's all right. Cool. If you mix it with 9-volt, you're going to get a little bit of lift. But it's really good if you want to do that with someone with natural hair. They might need that little bit of natural pigment cut up a little bit for some shine as well. So it's like another way to describe it, if you're using it with 20 and 30-volt on its own, is a liquid gel base breaker.
Okay.
Yeah. And it will give you that result if you want to do that. So same as, say, using a level 8 on a level 6 with H-tone. If you want to base a break, that'll do it as well. This will work the same way as that.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of base breaking though. It always worries me. I always try to avoid it because I don't really like, if I'm doing foils, I don't really like a lot of warmth around them at the roots unless I'm going for that as a permanent color. So base breaking to me, when I saw it coming in, and I suppose I don't know whether I should say this being an educator or not, but I was just like, yeah, I don't really like it. Each to their own. So I avoid everything I can when it comes to breaking people's bases if I don't want to do that. So I will always tone with 3-volt. I'm a really safe hairdresser. I don't want to have to go back and correct something. We don't have time on the floor when we're doing that. So I always play safe when it comes to like leaving their natural hair alone. So I've never done it. I've only done it on natural hair with 3-volt, and the shine's been amazing. I don't really think you need to break the base. I agree with putting it on colored ends if you want to lift and lighten, because that makes sense to me. I'm putting the product in, I'm exposing more of that, say the copper pigment to brighten it up. 100% makes sense. You can even add some Hmelt drops in it as well to control your tone. But on natural hair, I would just use 3-volt. But as a salon treatment and being able to offer a brightening, shine, strengthening treatment that you can add color to, it's pretty cool. It's really cool. And you can grow your treatment portfolio doing it that way as well, which is great. So that's how I would use it in the salon myself more, or mixing it in with my toners, which is good for more shine.
Okay. I always put Hmelt in with my toners.
Perfect. So do you do that to dilute your H-tone? Is that why you're doing it?
Yeah, and to add that bit more shine and add a bit of treatment into the hair so I don't have to do it after treatment.
Yeah, 100%. So once again, if you're toning, the two ways that I would tone would always be with half Hmelt and half H-tone. That's what I would globally tone, say like a scalp bleach with. When I'm toning foils or balayage, I always do 2/3 Hmelt to 1/3 H-tone to make a 3-volt. So I don't have to use Hmelt afterwards, Eve, because I do exactly the same as you. I always tone with Hmelt. Because otherwise you'd have to purchase a lower developer and use that anyway. And Oway, that's what we mix it with. So we're basically reducing our oxygen level, making it into a toner, but we're not taking away any of the reconstructive ability of our catalyst. If you add water to catalyst, that will dilute your catalyst down as well, but you're also diluting your protein or your natural oils. Your lippy butter basically turns to a liquid and doesn't really do anything. So you're really reducing the quality of the product, and that's why they made Hmelt. It's a bit of a universal product. You can use it as a standalone, mix it in with the developers, in between color treatments. It's really cool. And then we have Hbright. Basically, think of Hbright when you get your nails done. Not that I'm an expert at getting my nails done, but when you get your nails done and you've got this fabulous color just put on, and they say, do you want a clear coat, a top coat? That's Hbright. It's like clear sealant, goes over the top. Yeah, locks it in.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I have a question quickly. Sorry,
Brian.
You go.
Thank you. No, I was just going to say, in the instance of using it over previously coloured hair,
Yep.
How does it go on hair that's been coloured with a different range? So like say Wella, for example.
Yeah, fine. It's still going to perform the same on the hair based with a developer on any colour pigment. every color pigment is different in the way that whether it's cool or warm tone, whether it has a high dye load or a low dye load and things like that. Wella, for example, to me is a higher pigmented color. You are still going to get the same results putting it on any color. It's still going to lift up. If you wanted to really brighten someone's hair and you looked at the head of hair and you could see that it was like a dark, heavy, dense, compacted pigment, and you wanted that little bit more lift, then you would go a level higher with your developer.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Thank you.
That's all right. Sorry, Brendan, you can go now.
No, you're right. So if you used your Hair Bright, Hair Milk, and your H drops, and you were talking about brightening old foils, if you use that with like 20 volt, would that clean out like something that's overtoned? Would you use it in that way or not really?
Yeah, you could do that. So because it lifts up, that's a really good question, actually. I don't see why it wouldn't work because it does lift out. If you're putting Hmelt drops in it, depending on what you're trying to achieve. So if someone's overtoned with a violet-based shampoo and the hair, you know how they get flatter and flatter and flatter. If they don't have a lot of natural hair going through, because obviously highlights build up and towards the mid-lengths and ends we have more blonde. If you put Hbright on with, say, 20 volt or maybe even 30 volt on its own, I probably wouldn't go adding any Hmelt drops in it, because what you're doing then is you're depositing color at the same time as trying to lift out the overtone color.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I probably wouldn't do that then. I don't see it not, because that's what it's designed to do. It's designed to open that cuticle and lift out and add shine. So yeah, I'm yet to try that, but that's a really good point. So I'm going to start searching for someone with overtoned hair actually and see if that would work. It could work similar to that crystal gel product that you put on and you leave it on and it lifts out the overtone. Because that's the whole principle of Hbright. What it's meant to be doing is it's exposing and just lifting up a little bit. So yeah, I'm going to try that one. That's cool. I'll let you know how I go with it.
Good.
If it doesn't work, I'm going to say that was your formula and you used that one. No, but yeah, really good point. But if I was going over foils and I just wanted to add shine and not clean out the color, I would use a lower volume. Yeah, just in case there was a bit of natural hair in there. Yeah, and then you can put your Hmelt drops in if you want. You can tone it with gold. You can make a soft violet if you like. Purely visual, because your product consistency in the bowl is going to be more white than it is a gel color, clear gel, because you've added the Hmelt in with the 3 bowl. Yeah, but no, that's cool. I'm just trying that one. Also
too, like if you've got like someone who's been having like a 4-0 and it's just getting a bit flat, or a 3-0 and it's just getting a bit flat, and you just want to sort of brighten up the ends a little bit and knock it up by half a shade, would that be okay to do that? Use your
100%.
Your Hbright, Hmelt, and 20 or 30 volt?
Yeah, depending on how, like the darker the shade you are, probably the higher the volume you would use.
Yeah.
And maybe you could mix 20 and 30 together and make a 25 bowl if you're unsure. I always do that. If I can't decide which bowl I'm using, I just mix them together and I think, well, it's going to meet in the middle. Okay. If you do 20 bowl and it wasn't going to work as much, and you do 30 bowl and it's going to be too bright, using 25 bowl, you can think, oh, it was nice. Next time I can go a little bit lighter, but you're still going to get a good result. So I find that, I'm not being lazy by mixing them together. There is a bit of a method behind that. And I find that when I mix my bowls when I'm using H bleach all the time. Sometimes H tone or 9 bowl just isn't strong enough for what I want, but I know 20 bowl is going to be too strong. So I mix them together and make 15 bowl, like loads of times. It's great all the time. So you can even do the same with Hbright. If you think, okay, I need a little bit of lift, but I'm not sure, I'll try 25 volt this time. But your example of, the client coming in and having a 4.0 regrowth application, the ends, you want to lift and brighten them. What are your options? She's a natural. You're going to go for something gold to put on it for shine, or you use Hbright. So you would go Hbright, 20 or 30 bowl, or a mix of those. A color, do your roots, put that on the ends and process it. Obviously, by the time you put that through, if she's 4.0, she generally might be a grey coverage client, I'm not sure. So that'll be on for 45 minutes.
Yep.
So by the time you've applied your Hbright and your chosen developer, you've probably got another 30 minutes of processing anyway. So that's ample time for that just to lift and brighten. And I've seen that in action. One of the girls at one of our salons here, she had a client with a level 6, and the ends were they were just a bit tired looking, but she thought, well, I don't want to put more pigment on them, and I don't want to flatten them down or add to it. I want to lift and brighten it. And that's why Hbright's originally been developed. And then we've tweaked it and turned it into a shine treatment just using 3-volt. So there is so many ways you can use it in your chair. And like I said, application wise, it's not that expensive for them to put an added charge on for that as well. Because normally if someone's having their roots done, it's one price, but if they're, having all their hair colored, they're going to pay more anyway. So that's going to be added into the cost of that. So cost effective, it's quite good to use in the salon to get,
Yeah,
as well.
cool.
But yeah, perfect example for that.
I have a question. Oh,
Yep.
Sorry. You go.
Well, no, I'm done. I was just saying thank you.
I know.
Oh, no worries. Is Hbright and 0.0 like a similar thing?
No. So Hbright, 0.0 is going to give you a lot more lift than what Hbright does. So I was going to mention 0.0 for removing like
Colour.
tonal build up in the hair as well.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Would Hbright be better for that on a bleach client?
well, I don't know because I haven't tried it yet.
True. Sorry.
But no, but I'm going to. I might even overtone the swatch myself actually.
Yeah.
As soon as
I'm
I
just
get off the
thinking
phone
for
to
that
you
sort
guys,
of
I'm going to color
very
a swatch.
porous.
Yeah, and see what, and use a couple of different developers and see which one gives me the best result in the allocated time.
Yeah.
I
Because
know
0.0 works really well, but if I had a kind of, I guess, a lighter version of that, that would be quite nice.
Totally. And 0.0, like it does work really well. That's like a cream of blonding cream. So you can put 0.0 on someone's hair and get, 4 to 5 levels of lift with it.
Is it like the one that they had at Aveda? The bleaching booster?
Kind of, but not as aggressive as that.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So
Gotcha.
it's like, it's similar. So you don't really add 0.0 in without bleaching, though?
No, just with like high lifts and stuff.
Yeah, just
like
with high lifts, or on its own. So basically think of it as a tube of clear.
Yeah.
That mixed with 40 volume will give you maximum amount of lift. Obviously on natural hair, you'll get a lot more than artificial, but it does break down that artificial pigment. But it has no tonal quality whatsoever. So you're going to be left with your natural remaining pigment or whatever you lift with. So if you start from a 6, you're going to get to like possibly a 10, but it's going to be like really warm.
And you can't add tone into your 0.0?
Yeah, you can. You can put a bit of concentrate in it.
Okay, cool.
I can't tell you the stability of that because it's not really, but say I also wouldn't say if you run out of 90.11, use some ash concentrate in blondie cream and use it as a highlight.
Oh, hell no. I'd be terrified.
Okay, I didn't tell you to do that, but it could work as well. Because a high lift is a lot of nothing as well, but then with a strip of tone on it, which is why you can tone with high lifts, but I wouldn't walk away and leave them because you're going to get nothing happen and then all of a sudden the tone goes boom. So like we talked about before, always mix a high lift in with, like say you might do half 90.1 and half 10.1 or 9.0, mix it in with something that's going to stabilize your processing of your color because high lifts will grab after about 3 minutes. But no other range really tone with a high lift anyway, but we're lucky we can do it with ours because we're a hybrid. Just be careful. But I know that you can. I have tried adding a little bit of tone to blonding cream, but I wouldn't suggest you doing it and do like a regrowth application or anything like that.
No, I have only used 0.0 to like clean out a bit of color and just like people that have used box color or something.
Yeah. And
just got serious build up. I also find it really good for people that are like have been using Pantene for 100 years, but maybe I should use Hbright instead. I don't know.
Yeah, so I'll try that. I'll overswatch and use Hbright for you and let you know. Do you not use much 0.0 when you're toning and things like that?
Yeah, sorry, I do use it for that.
Yeah.
I used to use it in Melbourne. I had a client that had a serious like fluoro pink strip. She had white hair predominantly, like the tiniest amount of natural. And I used to use 0.0, I think like a full dropper of the pink.
Yeah.
in Hmelt and 20 vol, and it would stay. She'd come in every like 3 or 4 months, and it would be fluoro pink still.
It'd stain it. Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So that's sort of what I used it for. I always get really terrified. We used another product. I used Lakme for a whole 5 minutes because I couldn't stand it, but they had a 0 or a gloss, and I got serious lift with it with just a 9 vol. So I've always been really scared of using a 0, not knowing if it's a 0 or if it's
and I agree with you. And I think, Phoebe, where it sits on the color chart is a bit misleading as well, because it's sitting next to the high lifts and it's called super bleaching boost or something. So
you're sort of like, what are you?
So I think it's a little bit misleading when you read it. But I think directly that's what it was created for. But being a hybrid, our colors will only perform with what they're mixed with, what oxygen level you put in. So mixing it with a 3 volume, it's a clear, it's a deposit clear. It's amazing. So, and the other thing too was really interesting. Had you bleached that your client's hair and used Hmelt drops directly, they wouldn't have lasted long. When you mix anything with it, even though 0.0 can lift and remove pigment, it's still a processing. Even though it's a clear, it still has a color molecule that processes and swells up. So what your Hmelt drops, these little numbers will do, they'll go in, they'll get entangled in with the processing pigment, which is swelling up in your hair. So your longevity of your color, that's where you get that from. Like the Hmelt drops will stain really well, like most staining colors, but they're non-developing. So they're not designed to give you maximum results, which is why they're not marketed that way. So mixing it with, sometimes I do half 0.0 and half 9.0 and make a 10.0. And because that gives me a little bit of level control too. And then I mix my Hmelt drops to whatever color I want. And then I mix it with my H-tone or 20 volt in my foil and develop it that way. And you're right, it actually lasts a really, really long time.
Stays forever.
Yeah, it's really good.
It is good.
Cool. Awesome.
Thank you.
That's all right. So I think maybe Hbright might be something you could use in the salon. Like I said, I'm going to get busy this afternoon and do some overtime swatches and test that.
I've not used
you guys
it. It'll definitely be my next order.
Yeah. And like I said, you get about, on a 40 gram mix, there's roughly 12 applications out of a bottle on a 40 gram mix. So like I said, like from a financial point of view, it's not that expensive to use, but make sure you're charging accordingly, because obviously you got to add time into that as well. But it's for what the results you get, and to be able to offer it as a treatment, as a standalone shine treatment that you can color enhance is pretty cool. Really cool. Yeah. Lovely. No, anyone have any more questions? No? Cool. Lovely. All right then. Well, thank you so much, everyone that's I've seen and met and joined and sick of the sight of me for these like 4 weeks. But I'll let you know how I go with that. And I think that could be another thing, like you said, if you're removing overtone, it's going to be a lot more of a quicker, simpler product to use at the basin too, or in between the hair. Cool. Lovely. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thanks
Have a
so
great
much.
afternoon. See you later.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks. I don't think I'll nag you this afternoon. I think I'm good for now.
No, that's all right. You can